The House will come to order. Today's Pledge of Allegiance is by Eric and Nicholas Covarrubias, and they are from Brighton High School in Brighton, Colorado, and they are the sons of Representative Covarrubias.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So members, today is Liberty Day, and we're going to hear from students from across the state. All right, we're ready to go. We're going to go ahead and begin, and Oliver is going to start the Liberty Day.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition against the government for redress of grievances.
That's okay. Sure. It looks like the microphone needs a new battery, but we're going to use the podium.
A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law.
The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue, place to be searched, and the persons or things to be seized.
No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime, unless a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in a land or naval forces, or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy or life of limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation.
In all criminal proceedings, the accused shall enjoy the right for a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, and to be confronted with a witness against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of the counsel for his defense.
In suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law.
Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted.
The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people.
The power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectfully or to the people.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Members, we have a tribute this morning, Representative Buck and Representative Singer.
Well, Madam Speaker, I could not be more grateful that you allowed us to let these wonderful children read the Bill of Rights and all that they've done today. So I want to thank you, Madam Speaker, because I know we have a busy schedule, but I'm going to let my representative, good friend, Jonathan Singer, to say a few words.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we do have a tribute for our folks who are with us in the gallery, on our left, on our right here. And for those in the audience, you may not know, but reading truly is important, and you can land a job as a reader. And we do ask that Mr. Randall, if it's appropriate, to read the tribute at length.
The House of Representatives convened in the 71st General Assembly hereby extends sincere commendations to the Liberty Day Institute. Founded in 1996 by Andy McKean and his late wife Kathy, the Liberty Day Institute is a nonprofit organization dedicated to educating all Americans, but especially the next generation, about the contents of the Constitution of the United States. The Institute strives to ensure that every child in America knows and understands the essentials of our founding documents. Each year, young people come to the Capitol to read the Bill of Rights to the members of the House of Representatives and to speak with legislators. The members of the Colorado House of Representatives ask all people of Colorado to read, study, and learn the contents of the Constitution of the United States and discuss the document with family, friends, and coworkers in honor and celebration of Liberty Day. On request of Representatives Perry Buck and Jonathan Singer, given the 16th day of March 2018, State Capitol in Denver.
Representative Singer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, please be seated. Once again, some of you may not know this, but today is one of our founders' birthdays. President Madison was born today. And I just wanted to share a little bit about what Madison was all about. President Madison, please be seated. Thank you. So President Madison was actually small in stature. He was so sick that he could not fight in the military during the Revolutionary War for most of that time. So for those of you out there in the audience that are thinking maybe you're not physically ready, even if you're not physically ready, we know that you're up to the challenge because he was truly one of our greatest founders, and he did everything he could within his own abilities to make this nation what it is. In addition to that, at the height of his political power, he took a step back. He took a step back in part because he believed that there were others that could step forward. So remember that in your classroom, as you're going through elementary school to middle school to high school, that, you know what, if you're the head of the class, make sure you make room for the next person too, because they could have great ideas as well. And last but not least, while we read the Bill of Rights today, it was actually Madison who feared that the Bill of Rights would actually limit freedom. He was worried that if we didn't talk about all the freedoms, that we would miss something. So while we have this Bill of Rights that has stood the test of time, even our greatest leaders questioned that because they did not want to limit freedom any more than we do here today at the state capitol. And I'm so proud to be joined by my Republican colleague, Representative Buck here.
Representative Buck.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have to tell you, I go way back with Mr. Andy McCain and Jimmy Sungenberg, and I don't know anybody that works harder and more tirelessly, not only for Colorado, but through the United States to get the Constitution into the hands of kids. So I absolutely want to know that we honor those two, as well as I'd like everybody to look up and see the sea of red of all the Liberty kids here. Thank you so much for coming to your house. Welcome.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to the Capitol. Mr. Randall, would you like to call the roll?
Representatives Arndt, Baker J, Baker K, Beckman, Benavides, Bridges, Buck, Buckner, Carver, Catlin, Coleman, Covarrubias, Danielson, Escar, Everett, Exum, excused, Foote,
Excused.
Garnett, Janal, Janal,
Excused.
Gray, Hamner, Hanson, Herod, Hooten, Hooten. Representative Janal is present.
Excused.
Humphrey, Jackson, Kennedy, Kraft Tharp, Landgraf, Lawrence, Lee, Lee,
Excused.
Leonard. Lewis. Liston, excused. Lontine. Lundeen. McKean. McLaughlin. Melton. Michelson Janae. Neville. Pabon. Pedersen. Representative Lee is present. Rankin. Ransom. Ransom. Ryer. Roberts. Rosenthal. Sane. Salazar. Sandridge. Sias. Singer. Thurlow. Valdez. Van Winkle. Weissman. Willett. Excuse. Williams. Wilson. Winter. Wist. Young. Madam Speaker.
Here.
Journal.
Representative Foote is present.
No.
Exum, Putin, Liston, and Williams. Representative Hooten is present.
With 61 present, 3 excused, and 1 vacancy, we do have a quorum. Representative Harrod.
Good morning, Madam Speaker.
Good morning.
I like your green.
Yay, I like your green too. I'm glad people remember today.
I move that the reading of the journal for Thursday, March 15, 2018 be dispensed with and approved as corrected by the Chief Clerk.
All right, members, you have heard the motion. All of those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying no. That motion passes. Goodness. Further announcements and introductions. Representative McLaughlin and Representative Michelson Janae.
May I have your attention, please? Can we get the Capitol Choir up here, please?
Capitol Choir, Capitol
Choir.
Choir.
Because I cannot sing, you have to come up here.
We need the Capitol Choir. This is a big one.
Today is a very important day.
Capitol Choir.
Not only are we celebrating St. Patty's Day early, we also have a member who has a birthday.
Oh, well, I'm kind of wearing green. It's bluish.
Capitol Choir.
Capitol Choir.
Is it, who was it?
Hamner and Lambert.
Representative Wilson is dying to say something.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
No, we're going to get both. Come on.
Get in there.
You two, go ahead.
Okay.
2 birthdays.
As the duly appointed Assistant Choir Director, joining President Madison today on the birthday list will be Representative Landgraf and Representative Hamner.
Hamner.
Being the gentleman that I am, I'm not going to go to the age thing, but we're going to go alphabetically on first names, so it will be Lois first and Millie second.
Ready.
Are we ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Representative Landgraf and Hamner. Happy birthday to you.
Well done, choir. Well done. Well done. Well done.
Happy birthday. Announcements, introductions. Representative Salazar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, we have a special guest in this chamber. We have an Iraqi war veteran and current state representative out of Arizona, my friend Mark Cardenas. Let's give him a Colorado welcome.
Welcome to the Capitol.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to say, there was an incident the other day, and I want to talk about things that are happening in the world, whether it be the collapse of the bridge in Florida that took the lives, and my condolences to them. Also, Ergo, who was displaced and just recently reunited with his family. But also those that lost their lives in the apartment construction building fire last Wednesday. One of them had family in my district. And to those, my condolences. And yesterday is St. Patrick's Day dinner, and tomorrow's St. Patrick's Day. And I thank the sergeants for letting me borrow their coat today to wear the green, and all those that are wearing green today. And also with the snowpack and the moisture that we received here yesterday in Denver. It's a blessing, but still to this day, throughout the state of Colorado, we still need more moisture, especially in southern Colorado, for our communities, for agriculture, and the snowpack. But there was an incident that happened the other day. And as one of our members, Representative Wilson, stated, the culture has to change with us in here, in the General Assembly, with all legislators. And yes, I've talked to some individuals, Human Resource Director. And yes, I've talked to others. And I'm not going to sit by and not say nothing. I'm going to stand up, and enough is enough of the harassment, of getting in my face, pulling me out of committee, not once, but multiple times, asked me to come out of committee. And then when I come out of the committee, multiple times getting in my face. Yes, there was others around. Yes, I'm not going to tolerate this. And nobody should have to be harassed anywhere. And if something's going to change, it's going to change with us. Enough is enough. It shouldn't happen to you, anyone, any place. Not even a month ago, we brought a resolution right here to expel a member. And I'm very close to bringing a resolution to do the same. Because nobody should be put in a position where they're harassed time and time and time, over and over again. And if I have to, I will bring that resolution. Those of you that were in this chamber yesterday, I don't know what was going on, but this individual came up in front of my desk. Yes, he might have not been looking at me, but he was looking at everybody else and still controlling that area and that environment. I'm not going to go home this weekend and not sleep. These last 2 days, I've got very minimal sleep. And yes, I've spoken to our HR resource, and I've mentioned to him the policy needs to change too. And we need to change that policy. And some of you witnessed the incident that happened on Wednesday. I wish you hadn't have. But also, I thank you for being there as witnesses. And nobody should be left alone after that incident, and there's something that will be done. And who do you talk to? You know what? And I'm glad we're live today. Why? Because you're in our next generation. And you looked up to us as leaders. And I want you all to be leaders and to stand tall. Thank you.
There does need to be order in here. Further discussion? Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Representative Valdez, for being brave enough to come up here and say something that at least I have wanted to do for some time. There used to be a level of decorum in this building and in this chamber, and I've seen that level of decorum deteriorate over time. And I, for one, don't like it. I apologize if I've contributed to that, but I think today we have an opportunity to follow in Representative Valdez's footsteps, pay attention to what he said, and turn that around and get back to a chamber that values what we do here. We set laws for the state of Colorado. It's not a joke. It's not a circus. And I believe we have turned this place into a circus. And I, for one, don't like it. Thank you.
So there's not applause. That's our decorum of this chamber. After announcements and introductions, there's not applause. So that is well recognized decorum. With that, announcements and introductions. Representative Montaigne.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a completely different subject to talk about, a little trip back in time. Last year, a state employee, I believe, found a hidden stash of 20 portraits of former governors of Colorado. I know this because I serve on the Capitol Building Advisory Committee. They were in, and still are, in pretty poor shape, in need of some restoration and some work. But this is a look back into our history of our state. Today and on Monday, we will have 5 of those paintings on display in room 271, starting at 10 a.m. today. If you'd like to go and see them, the door will be locked, so the public won't be able to get into the room. But the sergeants will let you in to take a look at them. And so take a trip back in time and take a look at, I have no idea who the portraits are that they're bringing over today, but I encourage you all to go take a look. Thank you.
Representative Janal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I'd like to take the privilege to have a tribute
read at length, please?
Yes, that sounds good to me.
The House of Representatives convened in the 71st General Assembly hereby extends sincere commendations to Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month. Bleeding disorders, which share the inability to form a proper blood clot, are characterized by extended bleeding after injury, trauma, surgery, or menstruation, and can lead to significant morbidity and be fatal if not treated effectively. March is Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month, this designation formalizing and expanding upon the designation 30 years ago of March 1986 as Hemophilia Awareness Month by President Ronald Reagan. Many individuals with hemophilia became infected with HIV and hepatitis C in the 1980s due to the contamination of the blood supply and blood products. The hope is that this Awareness Month will generate greater understanding of not only hemophilia, but all inheritable bleeding disorders, including von Willebrand disease, which alone impacts an estimated 1% of the U.S. population. Moreover, this Awareness Month will foster a greater sense of community and shared purpose among individuals with all inheritable bleeding disorders. The members of the Colorado House of Representatives are proud to recognize Bleeding Disorders Awareness Month and commend the efforts of organizations that elevate awareness of and engagement in the inheritable bleeding disorders journey to the general public, enabling the prevention of illness, disability, and unnecessary procedures. On request of Representative Joanne Janal, given the 16th day of March, 2018, State Capitol in Denver.
Representative Janal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members. I would like you to welcome the Hemophilia Foundation and other bleeding disorders. They're up there. I'm wearing a red tie on behalf of Bleeding Disorders Month. And these folks will come around to talk to you today about the bleeding disorders that they have and they face in their families. And I hope you take the time to speak with them. So thank you.
Assistant Minority Leader West.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Janal, thank you for bringing this tribute. And I, last year on this day, had an opportunity to meet a family from my district, Bev Wilson and her family, and I think they're here again today. There they are. And Lincoln and Cole are here, and I'm always happy to meet another Cole in the world. So thank you to your family for your leadership, and thanks for being here at the Capitol today.
Representative Young.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, you may have noticed over by the old Supreme Court chamber earlier this morning, we had our international clubhouse groups that were here at the Capitol today. And I know when I say clubhouse, people think that's fun and games, but actually the clubhouse serves, and Representative Janal, you can come over here if you want. Yeah, I appreciate the support, but we have Frontier House in Greeley and Spirit Crossing in Fort Collins that are here today. And the clubhouses actually serve as a great bridge for those who are recovering and working through mental illness. There are nearly 300 clubhouses in over 30 countries offering hope and opportunities. I think you have this information on your desk. But in Greeley, the Frontier House actually serves as that bridge to employment and a stable environment and housing and other aspects of life as people transition back into the community. And so I want to thank them for their hard work and their efforts on behalf of everybody in our communities. Thank you, members.
Representative Janal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I just want to give a warm welcome to Spirit Crossing from Fort Collins. So thank you very much for being here today.
Further discussion? Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, this is really important. In fact, it's life and death. I have a friend in El Paso County whose niece went missing on Monday. She's a high school student. She's 16 years old. And the reason I'm bringing it up, I'm going to put it on my Facebook. And I would like, if you would, everybody to repost that, because if I realize Denver's not El Paso County, but we don't know where she is at this point. She's been missing a long time. Monday we're gathering to put up posters and flyers in the area, but I think if we can repost it, maybe she'll come home. Maybe she'll be found somewhere in the state. So thank you very much.
Further discussion? All right, announcements, introductions. Representative McLaughlin, Representative McKean.
Representative O'Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the Mick Caucus of McLaughlin and McKean.
McRoberts, O'Roberts.
Representative Roberts, which I'm told for today is Representative O'Roberts.
And O'Roberts. We would like to wish you a happy St. Patrick's Day. The Mick Caucus, Mick Keene and McLaughlin have green cookies for you, so we will be distributing those. And Mr. O'Roberts will be presenting the famous St. Patrick's Day Award.
Representative McKean.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and an honor serving with you, and what a lovely color on you today.
Hi, thank you.
So, folks, you know that the Irish have a long and gloried and storied and colorful history. And actually, I would like to suggest that when we see potatoes from the San Luis Valley, that those are in honor of the Irish and the Irish love for starch. So welcome to St. Patrick's Day. Enjoy it. I would like to remind all of you and all the millions who are listening that our wonderful public safety agencies in Colorado are going to be doing a DUI enforcement this weekend. And if you choose to go out, get a ride home. Be careful. Do the things you need to do to make sure you get home to your family safe and sound. Representative O'Roberts.
Representative O'Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for all week. I am not Irish, but I'm happy to participate in this tradition and pass down the jacket that has been in the house since the early 90s. We have a big winner who guessed the right, very close to the right amount of M&Ms. There are 541 in here. Representative Hansen, 525. Come on down.
I see Representative Hansen here at all hours. Are you sure he didn't just count those at midnight one night?
I don't know. I'm not surprised. He's pretty good with these types of things. Representative Hansen, congratulations. Representative Wilson.
Madam Speaker, gentlemen, Representative Roberts, Representative Hansen, I'm going to file for a recount.
We're not in Florida. Sorry.
Let's just in Minority Leader list.
Members, we have a beloved colleague with us here on the floor today, former Representative J. Paul Brown. Representative Brown, it's awesome to have you with us this morning.
Hello, Representative J. Paul Brown. Hello, Representative Lundeen. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Speaker. Are you willing to recognize me?
Of course. Every day.
Thank you very much. Tomorrow is St. Paddy's Day, as we know, and it's become a little bit of a tradition, and I appreciated my Mick Caucus. I'm actually not of the Mick Caucus. I'm out of the Clan Lamont family lamb, but I have an Irish connection also, and I would like to offer up the traditional Irish blessing to you all. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your bonny faces. May the rains fall soft upon your field. And may God hold you in the palm of his hand until we meet again.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Weissman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And believe it or not, I was about to read about exactly that same text before our colleague from El Paso County beat me to it. The last verse of that traditional Irish blessing is, may green be the grass you walk on, may blue be the skies above you, may pure be the joys that surround you, may true be the hearts that love you. Believe it or not, I am actually Irish. My grandfather was James Keeney, and he was born to an Irish immigrant, a young man who came to our country, I believe, in about 1897, having fled his homeland when there was a dearth of opportunity there after the potato famine. So in advance of St. Patrick's Day, I typically think of my grandfather, James Joseph Keeney, who was a traditional Irish blessing on our family. Thank you.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Pabon. We have a very special guest here today, it looks like.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and just wanted to introduce my friends and colleagues to my son, Alec Pabone. He's 5 years old and happy to be here. Can you say hi to everyone? Yeah, just like his dad.
Welcome to the Capitol. Green is great.
And one more quick announcement. In honor of the 10th Amendment, which many of you know I'm an ardent supporter of, we are having the Cannabis Caucus today, March 16th at 11 a.m. in House Committee Room 0106. So in honor of Liberty Day and the 10th Amendment, let's convene as the Cannabis Caucus at 11 a.m. in HCR 0106.
Further announcements or introductions? Representative Arndt.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to let you guys know that we've added a bill on Monday on House Ag, Livestock, and Natural Resources. And so we will be hearing Senate Bill 176, 170. The new bill is 182. So I just need to let you know, given the open meetings.
Representative Escar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members, can I have your attention? I know you all probably get tired of hearing about how wonderful and great Pueblo is, but I'm going to remind you again today. In fact, I have a proclamation from the governor talking about some awesome things that are happening in Pueblo, and I'd ask Mr. Randall to please read it.
State of Colorado, a proclamation. Whereas, the Pueblo City County Library District serves as a bedrock for the Pueblo community by offering welcoming and exceptional facilities, outstanding collections, and well-trained employees. And whereas, the PCCLD staff provides expert service by encouraging the joy of reading, supporting lifelong learning, and presenting access to information from around the world. And whereas, during 2017, PCCLD loaned nearly 2.6 million items, greeted more than 1.3 million visitors, welcomed over 270 program attendees, and was recognized by the Library Journal as a 4-star library, which places it in the top 2% of all libraries in the country. And whereas, PCCLD helps children stay mentally engaged during the summer by offering the summer reading program, and had a total participation of more than 39,000 readers for the 2017 All Pueblo Reads Literary Project in the fall. And whereas in December 2017, PCCLD was nominated for the Engaging Local Government Leaders Leslie B. Knope contest for the Best Public Library in America by Laura Savage of the Pueblo West Metropolitan District. And whereas the PCCLD and Laura Savage worked tirelessly over 6 weeks to promote the library district and gained more than 25,000 votes in order to win weekly voting in the ELGL contest. And whereas organizations and individuals throughout the Pueblo region, the state of Colorado, and the entire country showed their support for PCCLD and other public libraries through the duration of the ELGL Leslie B. Knope Best Library in America contest. And whereas on March 5th, 2018, it was announced by the ELGL that with 19,964 votes cast in the final championship, PCCLD was the winner of the Leslie B. Knope Award and is the best public library in America. And whereas Coloradans are encouraged today to recognize and celebrate with the Pueblo City County Library District for its significant and enduring contributions to the vitality of our state. Therefore, I, John W. Hickenlooper, Governor of the State of Colorado, do hereby proclaim March 16, 2018 as Pueblo City County Library District Day in the state of Colorado. Given under my hand and the executive seal of the state of Colorado this 16th day of March 2018, signed John W. Hickenlooper, Governor.
Representative Escar.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Mr. Randall, for reading that at length. And members, thank you for listening. I know that I brag about Pueblo a lot, but I know a lot of you in this room actually went online and voted with me and for our amazing team who's here from the Pueblo City County Library. I can't introduce you by name or I'll get fined, but here's the amazing team that really makes our library the best library in America. Thank you so much for your attention, and thank you for coming up here. And I am so proud to know that you all are a part of Pueblo, and thank you for all that you do for our community.
Thank you so much for joining us today at the Capitol. Any further announcements or introductions? Representative Valdez.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And you know what? I'll take that fine. John Walker from Pueblo, I want to thank you. Phil, Diane, and everyone in Pueblo. Without the Pueblo libraries and the libraries in our communities that educate our children, us, every one of us, as a resource to grow our minds with innovation, to be our leaders of business owners, elected officials, people. I thank you. And congratulations to Pueblo, and I want to see your city become the next winner of this award. No.
All right, further announcements or introductions? Representative Breyer.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I am also a Pueblo advocate and love the library. I'm a card holder. I love that library, but the one that sticks out in my heart is the one on Abriendo, because it's the main library. It's an amazing building, and that's the one I love to go into because it feels like a library. So thank you very much, and congratulations on that honor. That's amazing. You deserve it.
Further announcements or introductions?
All right, Representative Valdez, that will be a $1 fine, and I think that's it, actually. I think Representative Myers was all right as it relates to the rules. Further announcements or introductions? Yep. That takes us to third reading of bills, final passage. Members, we are on third reading. Please take your seats. We do have to read some reports of the Committee of Reference. Mr. Randall, please do so.
Committee on Appropriations, after consideration of the merits, the committee recommends the following bills be referred to the Committee of the Whole, unamended, with favorable recommendation. House Bill 1040, 1132, 1147, 1149, 1155, 1175, 1235, 1249, 1293. The committee also recommends the following bills be amended as follows, as amended, be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. House Bills 1069, 1092, 1118, 1131, 1186, 1256.
All right. With that takes us to third reading of bills. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 74.
Senate Bill 74 by Senator Thomas Representative Hansen concerning adding individuals with Prader-Willi syndrome to the list of persons with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Assistant Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 74 on third reading and final passage. Third reading, members. Third reading.
Members, please take your seats. The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 74 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative McKean and Representative Humphrey, please vote. Please close the machine. With 52 yes votes, 9 no votes, 3 excused, and 1 vacant, Senate Bill 74 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1254.
House Bill 1254 by Representative Van Winkle, Senator Smallwood, concerning the modification of the foreclosure process and property that is encumbered by a deed of trust.
Assistant Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of House Bill 1254 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of House Bill 1254 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 61 yes votes, 0 no votes, 3 excused, and 1 vacant, House Bill 1254 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 2.
Senate Bill 2 by Senators Corman Sonnenberg, also Representatives Baker, Kay, and Duran, concerning the financing of broadband deployment.
Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 2 on third reading and final passage.
The question before us is a passage of Senate Bill 2 on third reading and final passage. Representative Becker. Jay Becker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Or Madam Speaker, I would ask to be excused from the vote under House Rule 21C.
That is granted. And whenever you're ready, Ms. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 50 yes votes, 10 no votes, 4 excused, and 1 vacancy, Senate Bill 2 is passed. Co-sponsors. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 134.
Senate Bill 134 by Senator Cook, House of Representatives concerning the exemption of nonprofit water companies from regulation by the Public Utilities Commission.
Assistant Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 134 on third reading and final passage.
All right, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 134 on third reading and final passage. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Representative Everett and Humphrey, please vote. Please close the machine. With 61 yes votes, 0 no votes, 3 excused, and 1 vacancy, Senate Bill 134 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. Ms. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 165.
Senate Bill 165 by Senator Neville and Todd, House of Representatives Winter and Sane, considering requirements for public administrators.
Assistant Majority Leader Garnett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move for the passage of Senate Bill 165 on third reading and final passage.
Question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 165 on third reading and final passage. Seeing no discussion, Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote. Please close the machine. With 61 yes votes, 3 excused, and 1 vacancy, Senate Bill 165 is passed. Co-sponsors. Please close the machine. All right, that takes us to general orders. Second reading of bills. Oh, Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move the following bills be made special orders at 10:01 on Friday, March 16th.
Oh.
House Bill 1259, Senate Bill 173, Senate Bill 82, Senate Bill 131, House Bill 1156, Senate Bill 90, Senate Bill 95, Senate Bill 98, Senate Bill 135, House Bill 1007, House Bill 1249. And members, that's all the bills that were already on second reading, except adding one bill that was in appropriations today, and that bill is House Bill 1249, Representative Rankin's bill. So it's the normal calendar, all put on special orders with the addition of one bill.
All right. You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, that list of bills will be made special orders. So that takes us to special orders. Representative Hansen. All right, members, you have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, Representative Hansen will take the chair.
The committee will come to order. With your unanimous consent, the bills will be read by title unless there's a request for reading a bill at length. Committee amendments will not be read unless requested, as they are printed in your bill folders. Floor amendments will be shown on the screen and not read unless requested. Bills will be laid over upon the motion of the majority leader. And of important note, the coat rule will not be relaxed for obvious reasons. Keep them on, gents. And with that, Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1259.
House Bill 1259 by Representative Gray, House Senator Marble, concerning providing marijuana samples to employees for business purposes.
Representative Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1259 in the Finance Committee report.
To the committee report.
In the Finance Committee, we had a good conversation about this bill. We made some clarifying amendments with respect to some technical issues, as well as making sure that the bill applied to both edible products and non-edible products, and I would ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on the finance report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the finance report. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. The finance report is adopted. Representative Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. House Bill 1259 is a bill to solve a problem that we currently have in the cannabis industry here in the state of Colorado, and that is folks who manufacture products that they are going to sell through dispensaries on the retail or medical side, performing quality control on their products before they provide them to customers. Let me give you a sense of how this currently works based upon the laws that we have. If a manufacturer of a product wants their employees to be able to sample that product and figure out whether it meets their quality standards prior to putting it on sale, they have to wrap it up, package it, get in their car, drive to a dispensary, hand it to a person who works in a dispensary, have him sell it back to them for 1 penny, and then drive back to work. That, I think we can pretty much all agree, is an absurd business practice, but it's what's going on right now. This bill would allow managers within the business to sample the product under very controlled and limited circumstances. The managers would have to sign up to be personally registered in the seed-to-sale tracking system. There are guardrails that the products cannot be resold. There are a number of other guardrails within the bill to make sure that this doesn't become a source of diversion or anything. But as I said before, this kind of sampling is happening right now. It's just happening in really absurd circumstances where somebody has to take their own product, drive it to another store, hand it to somebody so they can hand it back to them, and then drive back to work in a way that is tracked less than they would be under this bill. During the committee, we did have some conversations with some folks from the city and county of Denver who expressed some concerns. My stakeholders and I have been continuing to work with them, and I am going to offer an amendment now to address some of the concerns that they have raised. And with that, I would move L004 and ask it be displayed.
That amendment is properly moved. That amendment is now properly displayed. Representative Gray to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment, one of the questions we got in committee, the bill uses the term managers as folks who can participate in this process. And there were some questions in committee from members and from the City and County of Denver about what exactly constitutes a manager and what doesn't. And so this amendment places some more definition on managers and how those managers are integrated within the business. And I would ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of L004. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. L004 is adopted. Representative Gray, to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd ask for an aye vote and yield for other members to speak.
Thank you. Representative Beckman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move L003 and ask that it be displayed.
L003 has been properly moved and displayed. Representative Beckman to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We heard a lot of testimony for the City and County of Denver, and they really did point out something that would make this bill a lot better, and that is an opt-in for this bill. Testimony from Ms. Ashley Kilroy-Potzar from Denver, she is the Executive Director of Marijuana Policy, made the statement, State of Colorado has been a national leader in setting high standards and appropriate rules for the marijuana industry. This bill is not along the same lines. She said that we already have a testing and research license. Let us use those avenues instead of this bill. She also continued to comment that we should use a slow and measured approach in what we do. Let's do it right. We should be good actors. We should be good leaders. This is not the standard. It was the first time in committee that I have heard the Denver speak out so strongly against a bill. She also continued to say that we have a long history of strict rules and statutes that prohibit free samples. It has been unlawful to give away marijuana, and she quoted a bunch of state statutes. The City and County of Denver asked for a no vote, but they wanted an opt-in clause. In Colorado, we have a long tradition of supporting local control when it comes to marijuana policy, and even though and I think that this should be no different. So I would ask that we give our communities that we represent the opportunity to make decisions on this bill. I would ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to serve with you.
And with you.
I just, as a legislator from Denver, I just want to speak to the Denver perspective real quick. So the majority of the dispensaries are in Denver. The owners of those businesses have asked for support of this bill today. So I think it's very important that when we speak about what cities want and the constituents within those cities want, that we talk to the members who represent those districts, and the members that represent those districts hear directly from those constituents, and this is a bill that they would like to see passed. And so I urge an aye vote. I urge a no on the amendment? Yes. A no vote on the amendment.
Further discussion on the amendment. Representative Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I would also ask for a no vote on this amendment. As I described before, I take the concerns of the City and County of Denver very seriously, and again, the amendment we just adopted a moment ago is meant to address some of those concerns. We're still in the conversation right now. But frankly, again, this bill is designed to improve business practices and allow business owners to operate in an efficient manner. And one of the things about creating a patchwork of regulations with respect to business efficiency is that takes business efficiency out of it. More importantly, as I said before, it is not that this practice isn't happening right now. It is just happening in an absurd and less safe way. Right now, people are taking their packages to a dispensary, handing them over, and selling them back for a penny. And at that point, after that sale happens, they're no longer within the seed-to-sale tracking system. So the current practice is actually tracked less than would happen under this bill, because the individuals who would be receiving these samples personally volunteer to be personally tracked within the seed-to-sale system. We're offering more accountability while also more business flexibility, and that should be a standard everywhere. It shouldn't be anywhere in the state where we go with less flexibility and also less accountability at the same time. I'd ask for a no vote on the amendment.
And Representative Beckman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On the amendment again, discussions about a patchwork of regulations. Let us remember when the voters voted on this, there was a guarantee that local communities could control what was happening within their boundaries, within their cities, within their counties. That's the commitment that was made. This is a step toward saying all marijuana policies in all areas, we can't have a patchwork. The voters of the state of Colorado want that. They want to make decisions on if something is appropriate for their community or not. Denver asked in a very clear message, the drug czar, pot czar of Denver, but the director of marijuana policy, who has not opposed previous legislation through the finance committee that I can remember, has asked that we at least have an opt-in or an opt-out for this law. I know that in my community, I have very different marijuana laws in the city of Centennial, the city of Littleton, and Arapahoe County, and in Douglas County, and they want it that way. If we start moving into the concept of we don't want a patchwork of regulations, I'm afraid that we are violating the trust of the voters who ask us to allow for the local communities to decide what they wanted in their communities.
Representative
I ask for a no vote.
Oh, pardon me. Pardon me. Representative Benavides.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And members, I didn't support this bill, but I think this amendment makes it a bit more palatable. And I did hear the head of the marijuana division in Denver come and talk about that if they had the opportunity to opt out, they wouldn't oppose it. You know, what was interesting to me is that we already have marijuana regulations that provide for testing. Businesses can obtain testing, third-party testing license. And when I asked in committee, what are these employees who will be ingesting marijuana or using the topical marijuana, how are they going to be determining quality control? And I can't remember what the other thing was, but there was no answer. There was no response. So they're going to go home and ingest this or utilize it, and then that's the end of it. And there is no set group that are a controlled test group. So I would think that allowing counties and jurisdictions to opt out, and this is not unique. That's what we did with marijuana overall. And I think it's a difficult subject for municipalities and counties, and they should have the ability to make that choice if they want to. So at least for me, it helps me be more supportive of this bill. So I support the amendment.
Representative Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Local control of marijuana industry is actually probably the thing I care most about, mostly because my district I have 0 dispensaries in my district. The city of County Broomfield almost does not participate whatsoever in the marijuana industry, and I will stand up to protect their ability to do that. And anybody who doesn't want to have licensed manufacturing facilities in their local area absolutely doesn't have to. What that doesn't mean is that we also have a comprehensive statewide set of regulations that covers how these businesses operate in all jurisdictions. So the ability to opt out is sacrosanct to me because it's something that my community has done. That said, it's not to say that every single piece of regulation we have has to be subject to various local controls, and we can't create best practices for our marijuana industry in this state. Once again, I'd ask for a no vote.
Further discussion on the amendment? Representative Beckman has called for division on Amendment L003. Again, division has been called.
As you all are taking your seat. I literally text that. Yeah,
I'm just tap dancing, Merlin.
hold on one second.
With division called, the question before us is the adoption of Amendment L003. All those in the chamber not entitled to vote, please be seated. All those in favor of Amendment L003, please stand and remain standing in one place until the count is finished. Thank you. You may be seated. All those opposed, again, all those opposed, please stand in one place until the count is taken. You may be seated. Amendment L003 is lost. We are now back to the bill. Any further discussion on House Bill 1259? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of House Bill 1259. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. House Bill 1259 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 173.
Senate Bill 173 by Senator Gardner, also Representative Herod, concerning the ability of certain establishments licensed to sell alcohol beverages for on-premise consumption and the serve of food to allow a customer to remove one open container or partially consumed vinous liquor from the licensed premises.
Representative Herod.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senate Bill 173 is a pretty straightforward bill. It'll allow cork and carry limited wineries to have cork and carry, and I ask for an aye vote.
Representative Herod, could you move the bill?
I move Senate Bill 173.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Senate Bill 173? Minority Leader Neville.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, good bill. Vote yes.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 173. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 173 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 82.
Senate Bill 82 by Senator Zinzinger, also Representative Kennedy, concerning a physician's right to provide continuing care to patients with rare disorders despite a covenant not to compete.
Representative Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 82.
Thank you, Representative Kennedy. To the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I want to introduce you to Gracie. Gracie has an extremely rare medical condition where she cannot feel pain. She is one of fewer than 50 people in the world that we know of that have this particular condition. So you can imagine when her mom was trying to find a doctor for her, how difficult that must have been. Well, when they finally found a doctor who was able to treat Gracie's rare condition, everything was starting to go so much better. They were able to treat her as appropriately as they could. But then that doctor left her place of employment for a new place of employment, and a non-compete agreement with her previous employer stopped her from notifying Gracie and Gracie's family that she was leaving that place of employment, and they were no longer able to have the treatment that had finally worked for Gracie. Well, Senate Bill 82 seeks to address that problem by making sure that those kinds of non-compete agreements do not apply when there is a person with a rare condition that is on a list according to the National Organization for Rare Disorders. I want to bring to your attention that when this was in the Senate, Senator Zenzinger worked very closely with the Medical Society and with others to make sure that this bill was crafted in a way that everyone was comfortable with. No one spoke in opposition to the bill, and I think we're in a place where we're going to be able to solve a problem to make sure people like Gracie and others with extremely rare medical conditions are going to be able to keep working with the doctor that's able to help them out. Now, that said, there was one thing that came up in committee that we were asked to look at amending, and we weren't able to do it in committee because we hadn't fully vetted the amendment, but I would like to now move Amendment L001 and ask that it be displayed.
You've heard the motion. L001 has been moved and now properly displayed. Representative Kennedy, to the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an amendment intended to clarify and make sure that the protections we're trying to put in this bill are actually effective. The Colorado Medical Society brought this amendment forward, and we have vetted it with pretty much anyone you could think of who would have an interest in this space. It is simply making sure that not only would the physician not be liable for damages as a result of the disclosure, and don't worry, when I talk about damages, this is not at all drifting into medical malpractice, I promise you. We're talking about damages related to the contract to not compete. But we're making sure that the continued treatment of that child, not only the disclosure, but also the continued treatment of that child, does not constitute a breach of that contract. So I ask for your support on the amendment.
Thank you, Representative Kennedy. Just to correct my earlier statement, we are considering L002. And do we?
It's the same, actually. It's the same, then it's two. Okay.
Is it Representative Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My apologies. It should be the exact same language, but it does appear that we had a different amendment number when it came to the floor versus the one we considered in committee. So I would like to amend my previous motion that we display L002, and I suppose I move Amendment L002.
Great. That has now been properly moved and displayed. We go to Representative Humphrey. To the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, and a good amendment. The omission in the original bill was that it simply applied to disclosure. This includes treatment. Without this, it really doesn't do at all what it needs to do. So that was why he got the slew of no votes in committee. And so now well, I'll speak for myself. I support the bill.
All right, Representative Landgraf.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This really was a good bill, but there was that little glitch, and this fixes that. So I appreciate it. I think we've all come to a yes. I don't know, but again, I won't speak for myself. I mean, I will speak for myself.
Thank you for that clarification. All right, Representative Ransom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And because we vetted this carefully in committee and it was party line, and part of this, the issue was due to the amendment that we are now adding, I urge an aye vote on the amendment, and I will be voting yes on the bill as well.
Further discussion on L002. Representative Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I just wanted to thank Representative Kennedy for his work on this, because we kind of jerked him through a knothole on that, and he was really wanting to submit the amendment at the time, but he wanted to check it out as he usually does, and he solved our problem. So I'd like to speak on behalf of everyone else and not myself. We're in support of this amendment.
Thank you. Further discussion. Representative Kennedy still looks like he's in good shape from the knot hole. Still looks good. Anybody else? All right. The question before us is the adoption of L002. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. L002 is adopted. Representative Kennedy, to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure what else there is to say. Thank you for your support, members who came up to speak on behalf of the amendment, and I ask for an aye vote on the bill.
Seeing no further discussion on Senate Bill 82, we're now considering the passage of Senate Bill 18082. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 82 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 131.
Senate Bill 131 by Senator Tate, House Representative Hooten, concerning modifications to the State Employees Group Benefits Act.
Representative Hooten.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 131 on second reading. There are no committee reports to the bill.
Thank you. To the bill.
Mr. Chair and members, this is a statutory revision committee bill, which actually modifies the State Employees Group Benefits Act to bring it into compliance with federal law. And just a few examples, it changes the definition of a dependent to reflect that a child can continue under an employee's policy until the age of 26, et cetera. And these is all to correspond with the Affordable Care Act provisions. We're already doing this in practice. It's just putting us in compliance with federal law. So I ask for an aye vote.
Any further discussion on Senate Bill 131? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 131. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Ayes have it. Senate Bill 131 is passed.
Thank you. I have three more.
Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 11. Pardon me, Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1156 till Monday, March 19th.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1156 will be laid over as requested by the Majority Leader. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 90.
Senate Bill 90 by Senator Zenzinger, House Representative Hooten, concerning moderation of language in statutory sections concerning rights of married women.
Representative Hooten.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 90 on second reading. There are no committee reports to the bill.
To the bill.
Thank you, members. Based on Colorado's case law, spouses have equal treatment in regards to property rights and other individual rights. Senate Bill 90 updates language and statute providing the same rights to both married women and men. It's pretty straightforward. I ask for a yes vote, or an aye vote.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 90. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Senate Bill 90 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 95.
Senate Bill 95 by Senator Zenzinger, Martinez, Domenico, House Representatives Hooten and McKean, concerning the removal of statutory references to the marital status of parents of a child.
Representative McKean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move the committee report and Senate Bill 95.
Thank you. To the committee report.
To the committee report, we just had an amendment to clean up a little bit of the language and include pregnancies of unmarried individuals and to establish. It's just cleaning up language over the years. Our society changes, so does our language. I would urge an aye vote.
Seeing no further discussion on the judiciary report, all those in favor of adopting the judiciary report, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no.
Aye.
The committee report is adopted. Representative McKean to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would urge an aye vote on Senate Bill 95.
Seeing no further discussion, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 95. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. Senate Bill 95 is adopted.
Where's
Mr. Randall, please read the title of Senate Bill 98.
Senate Bill 98 by Senators Tate and Zenzinger, also Representatives Hooten and Thurlow, concerning amending statutory provision relating to interest on damages that were ruled unconstitutional by the Colorado Supreme Court.
Representative Hooten.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 98 on second reading. There are no committee reports to the bill.
Thank you. To the bill. Representative Thurlow.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, members. Senate Bill 98 is another statutory revision committee bill. It squares up some pre- and post-judgment interest issues that were in the statutes. As we got into it, we found out it was a little more complicated than we thought, so it was amended in the Senate to conform with some Colorado Supreme Court decisions, and it actually made it out of the Senate unanimously. It made it out of House Judiciary Committee unanimously. We talked about the role of the Statutory Revision Committee, and we want to assure you that we're all constantly working to keep within the proper role of the committee. This one might have gone right at the edge of that role, but we got the trial lawyers to agree and the civil justice people to agree that it was a very good bill, and it's been unanimous all along the road. So we're cognizant of that role and ask for an aye vote on the bill.
Seeing no further discussion on Senate Bill 98, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 98. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Senate Bill 98 is passed. Mr. Connor, please read the title of Senate Bill 135.
Senate Bill 135 by Senator Gardner, also Representatives Carver and Lee, concerning updates to the Colorado Code of Military Justice.
Representative Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Senate Bill 135 and the Judiciary Committee report.
Thank you. To the committee report.
This bill is a cleanup of the Colorado Code of Military Justice that governs military justice in our Guard unit, and I'm glad to be joined by my co-sponsor, who wasn't had some schedule issues, but is here. The Defense Council, who do this work in the Guard Military Court Martial, raised some issues. We addressed that in an amendment, and with the amendment had support of all parties. So I urge adoption of the committee report.
For the discussion on the committee report, seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the judiciary report. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, no. The committee report is adopted. Representative Lee, to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move Amendment 004 and ask that it be displayed.
Members, you have heard the motion, or Amendment L004. It has now been properly moved and displayed. Representative Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is just an amendment to add the word candidate in, pointed out by one of the meticulous readers of the bill on the Judiciary Committee, to make the amendment conform consistent with the rest of the language. Ask for an aye vote on Amendment 004.
Seeing no further discussion on this meticulous amendment, the question before us is the adoption of L004. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. L004 is adopted. Representative Carver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, this is a cleanup of the Colorado Code of Military Justice. It had been 10 years since it was last updated, and would ask for your support.
Representative Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Colorado Code of Military Justice is the National Guard equivalent of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, and it covers the National Guard members in Colorado. And this bill is just an update, as mentioned by my co-sponsored. We appreciate your support.
Seeing no further discussion on Senate Bill 135, the question before us is the passage of Senate Bill 135. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. Senate Bill 135 is passed. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over House Bill 1007 till Monday, March 19th.
Seeing no objection, House Bill 1007 will be laid over at the request of the Majority Leader. Mr. Randall, please read the title of House Bill 1249.
House Bill 1249 by Representatives Rankin, also Senator Lundberg, concerning the requirement the state treasurer distribute any federal funds related to the naval oil shale reserve land to specified counties or their federal mineral lease districts.
Representative Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move House Bill 1249 and the Finance Committee report.
Thank you. To the committee report.
The Finance Committee made a very wise amendment. They said that this bill would only affect those federal funds that have been withheld from payment in the past, and future withholds will not be affected by this bill.
Any further discussion on the committee report? Seeing none, the question before us is the adoption of the Finance Committee report. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Finance Committee report is adopted. Representative Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a joint budget committee bill, but it was routed through the Finance Committee. It was a unanimous vote there, and Appropriations Committee today. It affects, it's basically at the recommendation of the Associated Governments of Northwest Colorado. It was endorsed by the Colorado Counties Incorporated. And it actually affects monies that were withheld from experimental projects that go back into the 40s. And money was withheld to ensure the cleanup happened, $133 million. Over time, over a 10-year period, the folks in these counties associated with us have been trying to get this money released. And it looks like we're on the brink of actually getting that. So the formula for the distribution of the money goes back to pre-2008. And since then, we've had a different formula for distribution of federal mineral lease money. So this bill simply puts in law the distribution formula that was in effect before 2008 that should be appropriate for these funds. So that's basically what it does. So the counties, there was $133 million, there's $18 million left in the fund, which will be distributed in two payments, $17 million and $1 million in October.
Excuse me, Representative Hamner.
I couldn't hear you there, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, thank you. Members, I ask for a yes vote on House Bill 1249. This bill would benefit the 4 counties who've been most impacted. They've worked really hard with our congressional delegation. And because of their hard work, we do have this revenue to distribute to them. So I think it's the right thing to do and ask for a yes vote. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, pardon me, Representative Garnett.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I think it's important to understand this has a long legislative history. The bill that we're talking about today is going to change the formula for how we distribute these funds. But just for this money, just for this $18 million, I like the way that we distribute the funds currently. But I understand where Representative Rankin is coming from. I understand where Representative Hamner is coming from. And what this will essentially do is take us back to how the funds were distributed before 2009 when we changed the prioritization. And if these counties would have received that money in the appropriate amount of time from the federal government, it would have been distributed through that formula. And so I'm a little bit more okay with it because the feds should have done that. The feds should have done that before 2009. But let's just be super clear. The site is clean. To clean up the site, $80 million was spent to clean it up. This is $16 million more to go to the counties for other expenses that they have incurred. I don't exactly know what those are, but I believe that they exist. And they have fought very hard with our federal delegation to help get this money from the feds. So even though I was a no vote about 2 hours ago in appropriations, I will be a yes vote now that I better understand the legislative history. And I want to thank Representative Rankin because this is a pretty unique situation.
Seeing no further discussion on House Bill 1249, the question before us is the passage of 1249. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. 1249 is passed. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 1 minute. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over. Madam Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the committee rise and report.
Forget what I was supposed to read. Oh, there it is, sir. You have heard the motion. Seeing no objection, the committee will rise and report. Yep.
Mr. Randall, please read the report of the Committee of the Whole.
Madam Speaker, the Committee of the Whole Big City Report has on series following test bills being a second reading there makes following recommendations thereon. House Bill 1249's minute, House Bill 1259's minute, passed third reading on gross calendar for third reading and final passage. Senate Bill 82 is minute, Senate Bill 90, Senate Bill 95 is minute, Senate Bill 98, Senate Bill 131, Senate Bill 135 is minute, Senate Bill 173 passed second reading on revised calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1007, House Bill 1156 laid over until March 19th, 2018, retaining their place on the calendar.
Representative Hansen. All right, members, you have heard the motion. There are no amendments at the desk. Mr. Randall, please open the machine, and members, please proceed to vote on the report of the Committee of the Whole. Representative Putin, please close the machine. With 58 yes votes, 2 no votes, 4 excused, and 1 vacancy, the report of the Committee of the Whole is adopted. All right, there is a consideration of resolution. Are we doing that today, Madam Majority Leader? Okay, we're not doing that today, so that takes us to Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to lay over the balance of the calendar.
Seeing no objection, the balance of the calendar will be laid over. Announcements and introductions. Any announcements or introductions? Going once, going twice. Seeing no further announcements or introductions, somebody like to make a motion to put us into recess until later today. Madam Majority Leader Becker.
Wow, everyone was just so verbose this morning. I guess they're exhausted and have no more announcements. So I move that the House stand in recess till 1 o'clock.
Or maybe it's just because it's Friday. With that, the House will stand in recess until 1 p.m. Have a wonderful weekend, members.